So today I'm going to be talking about the 25 best horror films, as per me. Yesterday, 29th of October 2022, on his channel, Tim Talks Talkies, delivered a live stream to go through what the community, the YouTube community, film fans, thought were the 25 best. 53 people took part in that. I was one of the people that sent in a list. So now that his live stream is completed, look at the link below if you haven't found it already. But yeah, I thought I'll just go through what my list actually was. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, so to kick things off, at number 25, I've gone for The Blair Witch Project from 1999. Now, a lot of people hate this, and I get it, but that's partly why I chose it, actually. I mean, I remember seeing this in the cinema in 1999, and a number of people walking out, and I don't think I ever remember being in a cinema where there had been not mass walkouts, but a significant number of people walking out. And I get it, this was a film that was very confusing at the time. It was a found footage film, and it was all shaky camcorder. It looked very cheap, and it was like, why am I paying money to see this? And there didn't seem to be a story to it. But if you hang in there till the end, then yeah, it kind of had its creepy effect on you. I did like it. It's there for me at number 25. At number 24, I've decided to go for Wrong Turn from 2003. This is a film where a group of youngsters gets stranded in the West Virginia woods and get preyed upon by cannibalistic mountain men. I found this really creepy. I like it. It's there for me at number 24. At number 23, I've gone for the 2009 film Triangle, starring Melissa George. This is almost like a Groundhog Day type horror film, set on an ocean liner. A group of people get stranded on their yacht. They have to get on board an ocean liner that seems deserted, but it isn't. And the main character, played by Miss Melissa George, starts finding that she may have a sense of deja vu. It's a really good film, definitely worth watching. At number 22, I've selected The Strangers. Very unsettling film about masked invaders, it seems randomly selecting a couple who are alone at night, invading their house and subjecting them to torture. It's horrible, it's scary, it's super tense. I can't say I like it because it's quite gruesome, but it certainly had an effect on me. I'm choosing it. At number 21, I've chosen an STD horror film. I've gone for 2014's It Follows, with a breakout role from Maika Monroe, who had also starred that year in The Guest. It's not a film which I think is fantastic as a whole, but it certainly has a number of creepy scenes in it, and I thought it was quite effective. I like it. And at number 20, I have gone for The Entity, starring Barbara Hershey. This is an unsettling sexual trauma kind of horror film. The controversy around it is just how truthful it can possibly be, because it's about allegations of an invisible spirit that is attacking and raping this lady. So yeah, it's a very unusual film, quite intense, but Barbara Hershey's performance really holds it together. Well worth seeing. At number 19, I've gone for a fairly recent film from 2020. I don't hear it talked about too much, but I think it's really good. It's called Alone, and this is basically a two-person film about a widower who is traveling. Her car breaks down, she gets kidnapped, manages to get away from the kidnapper, but is then pursued. It's a very tense film, a lot of gripping tension to it, and really good performances from Jules Wilcox, and in particular the pursuer, played by Mark Menchaca. Well worth checking out. At number 18, I've gone for a British horror film from the director Neil Marshall, who directed films such as The Descent and Doomsday, but I have gone for Dog Soldiers, where a group of soldiers get trapped out in the woods by marauding werewolves. It is great fun, well worth watching. Okay, at number 17, I have gone for classic horror with some classic death scenes. Gregory Peck in The Omen. Number 16, again a fairly more recent film, one that I didn't perhaps rave about too much when I first saw it, but I've just really enjoyed it on a rewatch, and that is Alexandre Aja's Crawl. Number 15, a film that I discovered this past year and I really love it. It's from 1970. It is a film called And Soon the Darkness. It did get remade in fairly recent years, starring Amber Heard, but I think it's really interesting just to watch the two versions. This particular version, which is about two nurses who are on a bike ride through French countryside and get attacked. It has some illogical plot points to it, which might annoy some people, but I think if you compare that with the remake, which is much more logical but less exciting, it's just interesting to see those differences. For me, this is a great film. I really like it. Next up at number 14, a film from Danny Boyle, one of the first films to be shot on digital and involving very fast zombies. It's 28 Days Later. At number 13, for years its sequel has been one of my more favourite horror films, but I haven't chosen the sequel for this list because I find it perhaps just too comedic, so I've tried to go for the more scary horror films on this list. But the film I have chosen at number 13 is Sam Raimi's original, The Evil Dead. And number 12 is a notorious horror film which for many years I didn't rate too highly, partially because I didn't really get on with the actors that were in it at the start of the film, and because of that I didn't really want to stick with it. And also prints that I saw originally were quite low grade as well, but in recent years this has definitely gone up in my list of favourites, and it is of course Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. At number 11, a true classic and one that is still so effective because of its simplicity, is John Carpenter's Halloween. At number 10, perhaps one of the most fun watch horror films that there has been in the last, 20 years, 1996 it came out. It's Wes Craven's Scream. At number 9, yes, the effects look dated now, but this is still a really effective Alfred Hitchcock film, and it is The Birds. At number 8, going back in time to 1922, and for one of the most memorable vampiric performances from Max Schreck in F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu. At number 7, a classic film which for many years has looked terrible when it's been in the public domain, and I think for that reason I kind of overlooked it, didn't think it was all that special, but in recent years it's been fully restored and looks amazing now, and you can fully understand why it's the classic that it is, and that is George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. At number 6, a film that blends humour with horror brilliantly, and it also has one of the best werewolf transformation scenes of all time, with superb practical effects, and that film is of course An American Werewolf in London. At number 5, a film that is undeniably tense, scary, frightening, and it's an absolute classic. It should perhaps be number 1, but ironically I think because it's so uneasy to watch, it affects its rewatchability, and so there's perhaps other films above this one that I would rather watch more, but nonetheless it's a superb film, and it is of course William Friedkin's The Exorcist. Next up at number 4, a film which maybe I don't think is the scariest film, but it is unsettling and the quality of the filmmaking is really what makes this film stand out. And of course, the top-notch performance from Jack Nicholson. That film is, of course, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, which I've only got here in a part of a box set. And number 3, In Space, No One Can Hear You Scream. It is, of course, 1979's Alien. And number 2, it's a masterpiece of storytelling, editing, and use of music, and it is Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Which leads us to the number 1 film, and for me it has to be this film for entertainment value and the quality of the practical effects that it uses that are just gobsmacking to watch. It is John Carpenter's The Thing. Okay, so there we have it. That's my selection. I hope you liked that. But for sure, yeah, if you want to see what the rest of the film community thought were the best 25, then do go to Tim Talks Talkies and look at the live stream that he posted yesterday, 29th of October 2022, and enjoy that. But yeah, thanks again for looking at this. See you again.